Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. This is the Lockdown Leadership Network series. Hope you're all well and looking forward to the Christmas break. So today's guest, it's Liam Thomas from Highfield. He has been in recruitment for quite a while. They're based down in Hampshire, near Southampton. And I first came across Liam at a TRN event I was invited to. And he was on the stage and he was giving the story of his business. And I thought, wow, that guy's real impressive. So got to know him. He's been in our private members community, The Bridge, for scalable recruitment business owners. And he's been a great contributor in there. And so we talked about some of that during the interview. I suppose what did we chat about? Well, we went into, I suppose, some of the difficulties that he faced during COVID, how to get everybody on the right seat on the bus, and to make sure that, like, to use another analogy, that everybody is rowing in the same direction. And he's a big believer in that, and everything they do as a business is all based around that. So I kind of asked him the challenges of how you create something like that, and how you can walk away from other business maybe to make sure that everybody's super focused. We talked a lot about technology and what's working for him. The business uses all the best tech, and he's real into it. I'm massively into this at the moment. So speaking of technology, very lucky to have some great sponsors of this podcast, all of which I use in our scale business. And I've been working so hard to get that solution together. Getting a lot of help by Richard Gibbard at Recbound. And you know, I've been knitting together every piece of tech I can. Big believer in automation and in outsourcing everything that you can, except for sales and influence, and splitting the recruitment function from sales as much as possible. So our sponsors, our main sponsor is Vincere. We've been using them for a while now. We left their biggest competitor to join them for good reasons, because they're awesome and been a great partner of ours. Our other partners, very recent one in Sourcebreaker. I'm a big fan of this product, and I'm really glad they came on board. So from a business development perspective, I have a big automated system, but they're a massive part of it, because they'll tell me exactly which one of the clients, potential clients within my niche, are hiring. And then we'll get to work out like which candidate we can bring out. And it just helps to automate that whole system. It's brilliant. Loads of time for it. And then if you want to follow up on stuff or pitch things in the right way, or pitch your processes right to sell retained, we use Audro for that piece. And big fan of them as well. So, and more recently, hopefully from next week, we're going to have Recruiterly on board. And more specifically, their data product, which integrates with Lemlist, the email solution that we're using at the moment. No sponsorship from Lemlist, but enjoying using it all the same. So a bit of a taste of the different techs that we're using out there. If anybody wants to give me a shout on that, I've been doing loads of research on this side. And we're going to have some great offers through the Lockdown Leadership Network coming very soon, bringing the best tech to market. For now, I hope you guys, we're all able to pay your tax bill like we were. Thank God. Looking forward to that break and enjoy this podcast with Liam. I enjoy doing it. Good lad, great business. One of the guys that's going to have a big exit in the next 5 to 10 years. All right, welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. I'm joined by Liam Thomas. Look at that for a beautiful smile. Hey, are you smiling because we're on the other side of this pandemic now?
I think I'm smiling because we survived the pandemic. That's probably the biggest reason for it, I think.
Yeah. The first time I came across you, James Osborne invited me to an event, and I went in and I sat around a table of people who weren't quite impressive, but they had the golden child on the stage. And that was yourself. And you were like, it was boom time. We were all talking about, I think like you had followed a specific plan and it worked. And that was what the whole talk was about. And one of the things stood out to me was you had your vision on a board in the office, and that made up your wallpaper. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Still got it.
Oh, very good. And what did that entail? Like, walk me through what that was, how that came about.
It was basically a 4-year plan, and as we talk in November, at the moment, it was meant to be coming to an end at the end of this year. So back, if you look at March this year, we'd all on target for knocking it all out of the park. But yeah, it was a good journey. We did it about 3.5 years ago, step by step, got the whole company involved, and said, you know, in 4 years' time, what sort of business do you want to work for? What does it look like? How many people do we have? What clients are we dealing with? What do you want your colleagues to look like? And then sort of help mold it and shape the future of the business plan, really.
And who gets involved in it? Like, walk me through it from its genesis to how it gets implemented.
Yeah, so you mentioned Jameson Recruitment Network. This was a bit of Gordon's work, actually. So he came down to sunny Hampshire, did a day with us. I think we went to the pub, actually, and split us into 2 groups. We had the management team and then the consultants as well. He sort of ran sessions with both, and he facilitated it really well. And the ideas that the consultants came up with, you know, maybe he tapered them a little bit. I think we were probably about 20 odd people at the time. And we had a couple of consultants said, yeah, I think in 4 years' time we can have 500 people, no problem. So I think maybe he realigned a few expectations in there and kept it realistic. But we came out of it with a bit of a roadmap that we all agreed together what we want the company to look like in 4 years' time. Got it knocked up into a lovely road with lots of milestones and KPIs, that dirty word, on there, and we went along, really, and it was all going swimmingly.
Yeah. So what unique stuff came out of it that you weren't expecting?
For me, there was a really big focus on quality and reputation. So you know what it's like when you're in the head of a business owner, you can get lost in the figures a bit too sometimes, and doing well and the profit looks okay, that can cover up, you know, quite a few sins. So the interesting stuff that came out of it was how reputation focused everybody want us to be. You know, we want 100% of our clients to recommend us, which is a pretty big ask, but that's what we wanted. We want every single person who works here to recommend us as a great place to work. So yeah, there was a lot of reputation focused stuff that came out of it, rather than just you know, I'm sat there looking at how much GP do we turn into EBIT and kind of boring things, and you realise it's not quite as important to everyone else.
Salespeople like making excuses, Liam. You know that. How can a salesperson who hasn't billed you loads of money leave and be like, they're the best business in the world? It's the impossible juxtaposition, isn't it?
I think, I'm not sure we've quite cracked that one yet. It does tend to be someone else's fault, but then we do talk a lot about, you know, responsibility here, and take responsibility for, if you've got a target, you know, maybe COVID, you can say, well, it's not quite my fault this year, but you still got a responsibility to do something about it. So
I follow closely Jocko Wilkins' podcast, Extreme Ownership. Have you checked that out?
I'm definitely. He's up a couple of notches from our level of responsibility, but he's some character, that guy, definitely.
Oh man, I just love it. I can't get enough of it. Fires me up. I'm all into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the moment, so it's. Are
you training it yourself?
Yeah.
Nice.
I've done it on and off for a bit, and I did judo as a kid, so I'm in the throes of it. I'm too old to do any MMA or too delicate for that.
I do a bit of kickboxing, so if you put my striking and your ground game together, we might have a half decent MMA fighter.
Yeah, it might be a pub brawl, all right. So you still do kickboxing, do you?
Yeah, still do it all the time. I've had my online Zoom kickboxing session last night, and we've got a grading next month as soon as lockdown's released. So going for my next belt. Are
you tall? Are you?
No, I'm 5'11".
Okay. If kickboxing favors tall guys, I find, you know.
If you've got a good reach, it's handy. But then, you know, if you're carrying a bit of extra
timber,
like me,
there's no leg kicks either, which is a bit weird.
Yeah,
that's it. Anyway, we'll go off topic. I could talk about martial arts all day long. Um, so you had your plan, you got the consultants involved, you got their buy-in, you executed it with milestones. Um, it was in a boom market, everything was going well. What about the plan in hindsight worked really well? Like which parts of it?
I would say, it's the buy-in from the start. If it would have been rolled out by the management team, you feel like you'd be trying to constantly sell it to people all the time. Where actually, if they've helped shape, what they want the company to look for, they're taking ownership, they're taking responsibility in that. Yeah. They've come out of the meeting and said, look, we want 100% of our clients to recommend us to their colleagues and people in other businesses. Okay, then you put it back on them and say, well, how are you going to make that happen? What can you do? So I'd say the ownership definitely of getting everybody in the business to shape the business plan. But also at a board level, every quarter, we break off another chunk. How can we make that boat go a little bit faster towards our business plan? What can we bite off in the next 3 months? Set some objectives around that, and then just keep getting that bit closer every time.
One of the things I remember now from your chat was you talked a lot about the boat, actually, the boat going in one direction and staying to it, and what that translates to in recruitment terms, the way you described it, was that if you do construction recruitment, right, and a lot of overseas stuff, as far as I remember, and some of it might have been commercial. Is that right?
Yeah, and data centers as well.
And data centers as well. And what you find is when your teams are doing lots of BD, they'll go, hey, can you fill this job as well? And one of the things you said was to get them to say no to that, to focus on what they were doing, was one of your greatest challenges. How did you manage to get them to say no to that? And did that change in the pandemic?
I think through experience as well, starting the business myself, we were filling anything we could get our hands on. So it's right. Very well preaching and, having these idealistic goals. But I know I've been in the chair when, an administrator role comes in for one of your clients. Yeah, we'll fill that. No problem at all. We're not too precious for that. So it's different when you've got to put money in the bank to pay the insurance bill and things like that. So I think the way we communicated it to, all of the team members was, we really want to be experts in what we do. That's the bit of value we're going to add to our clients that hopefully others can't. If you dilute that, they're not going to look at you as favorably. Your knowledge isn't going to increase. And also your clients do respect you if you only feel what a very niche amount of things. So I think that's definitely helped. In the pandemic, we stuck to that, to be honest. We didn't change and just grab anything we could. We had a logical plan. We panicked like hell, I think, like everyone else did at the end of March and start of April. And once we got through that panic, it was about pivoting. We looked at each desk forensically, and then we mapped out a plan, which desks were viable, which desks weren't viable, and we just made some really sort of clean-cut, hard decisions and put people on a track where we felt they had the best chance of success, and stuck to that.
Where were you day one of the pandemic?
Picking myself up off the floor mainly, but I think having been through 2008, that was a really good experience to have been through that. That made me a lot calmer, and the decisions we took were definitely a lot better having been through the experience before.
God, the world didn't shut down in 2008 though.
The world didn't shut down, so it's very different from a personal point of view, but from a business point of view, in 2008, someone turned the tap off for us. It was quicker than COVID, to be honest with you. Our contract book was absolutely decimated, more than it was in COVID. So I think there's two different aspects from it. From a business point of view, this was easier. It was just the personal challenges that were a lot more difficult this time around.
You're part of a few of our leadership groups that we have. Has it been interesting seeing what different perspectives of other people at your level are doing?
Yeah, it's good. There's some good ideas and knowledge and things flying around on there. The IR35 has been helpful as well. Andy knows his stuff. We was talking about on there, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been good, especially from different people around the world. It's good that it's an international community. You've got what's working well in Australia, in Europe, in the States as well. It's nice to have that kind of knowledge from different parts of the world.
We're super keen to organize a bunch of piss-ups, I have to admit. The Australian group, actually, they had one already. So the Australian guys came to us and said, okay, we like that it's international, but Australia's different. We want our own WhatsApp group. Like, oh, okay. We want our own event. COVID isn't as bad here. Oh, fuck, okay. So we threw an event together and it went well, but super keen to do a bit of that here. A South Coast one would be fun, wouldn't it?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I think, we've got everything you need down here. We've got the weather, we've got the events. I think the South Coast one's got to be on the radar for next year.
Yeah, big time. And me and you are both based out here.
That's just a coincidence.
Yeah. That leads me to so your business interests me because you didn't feel the need to move to a major hub. You'll forgive me for calling Hampshire not the greatest hub, but it is a bit of a recruitment hub. Like there's a few hundred recruiters down there between some big players, Match Tech and their parent company who you came from. On that roadmap, was there international offices, and has COVID changed your plans on that?
Yeah, definitely. So in our roadmap, there were international offices on the horizon. What we're seeing at the moment is how well we can recruit from the international business hub of Hampshire. It is surprising what you can do with a really good internet connection, to be honest with you. Do you want this big expense of an office in Dublin, New York, and Singapore? Is that really, really important? Can you provide just a good service from working different hours in the UK and being flexible in that way? With the way the world is at the moment, I don't think there's many big leases in these hubs of London and New York that are going to be extended certainly to the same capacity which they've been in. So, we've been chatting about remote workers based in strategic global hubs and different options around that. So yeah, it's just looking flexibly and being agile to the way the market's going. And if you can recruit some talent who can work for you on a more agile basis in a WeWork or similar, then that may be a good option for going forward.
Yeah, that's what I've done myself. It's funny because we're at such an earlier stage in that business that we're definitely guilty of just filling anything. But I've also put in the long-term plan that it's going to be tech sales. Here's all the tech we're going to use. Here's the niche. Here's how we do it. Here's the BD person. But let's make some money at the same time to keep the lights on. So it's hard to get those roadmaps in.
We've all been there though. It's just, it doesn't matter. You can have the Mike Tyson quote. You can have the best plan in the world till you get punched in the face. And that VAT bill is going to punch you in the face if you don't pay it. So you've got to get those deals in and make sure the pipeline's looking good just to keep your head above water.
Have you thought much about that? What that looks like to maybe get somebody in New York and get somebody in LA? And do you feel that maybe that they'd be the BD person and then you do the delivery system from sunny Hampshire?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a very good crew of people who know the candidate markets across the world working here. So it's about opening up those new clients and getting in with those markets. And it can be quite intimidating, particularly somewhere like the US, where every state's almost like a country within itself. Yeah. So it's just trying to work out, like we do with everything, have a plan, then how do you execute it, like one chunk at a time, really.
And I'm going through this at the moment from a strategic perspective, using things like Crunchbase and Lemlist and Sourcebreaker and how that integrates with the data thing. And I swear, I have more advisors and tech than NASA does right now. It's nuts. And then
syndrome.
Yeah, and then I'm like, and then the recruiters come and go, don't even know what I'm doing. And you're like, just let's put that into a process document for you. Jesus, that document's fucking huge. What are we doing? And I'm like, no, let me walk you through it. It's very simple. This is going to make your life easier. So it's yeah, that's what I'm at the moment. It's but I enjoy all that stuff. It's fun, and it's fun to talk about it and to get all the tech to play together.
We've got some good stuff like that similar at the moment that we're working on, and we definitely took a step back during COVID to evaluate our tech stack and see where we are with everything. What do we need to add in? And we put a couple of good systems in this year that are already.
You got any shout outs on any of the stuff that you're using that works?
Yeah, a brand new one actually. We're the first UK customer for a company called Recruiter Insider. So they're Australian, and they integrate with we're on Bullhorn, integrate with Bullhorn and a couple of other CRMs, I think. But it's basically a feedback survey automated that runs in the background, and it's linked in really, really well to the roadmap and making sure that everyone's going to recommend us, and we're doing a really good job. I think they're quite big in Australia at the moment. We're the pilot UK customer for them.
That sounds great. I'll have to check out with them. Hal will be hustling them. So he does all the bad guy stuff. That's really good, because Australia, the type of recruitment that you're interested in and building your reputation and all that, like, I've spent time in Australia in recruitment, and reputation's everything, because they're regional based in how they do things. So if you dirty your bed anywhere, you're finished. And it sounds like that's super important to the business that you're trying to build as well.
Massively. It's similar, back 10 years ago in the first UK recession that I've been involved with, we did probably 80% of our business in the Middle East, in the UAE. Saudi, it's quite similar over there. You need to sit down and smoke a shisha with them, and they need to whites of your eyes before they're going to do a deal with you. So it's similar, I think, in Australia and that part of the world.
Well, what was that like, the first trip over there?
Busy. you got people in the office saying, "Oh, send us a picture of this," and what are the beaches like? And like, in reality, you get off the plane at 6 a.m, go to the hotel for a quick shower. Your first meeting's at 10, and you're here, there, and everywhere trying to do as much business as you can. But everyone in the work just thinks you're off having a jolly and sitting on the beach.
What was like the difference in doing a meeting there? Was there any like local cultural norms that you had to adhere to?
Yeah, there's lots of different etiquette and like nuances that you have over there when meeting people. But we were quite lucky that we dealt with a lot of British companies over there and a lot of expats. So we had a bit of a guiding hand when we were meeting some of the local Emiratis and people in Doha, and the different the different regions over there. So we had a bit of a helping hand because we took the business we did in the UK and dealt with the companies in that location.
Super interesting. What other tech stuff came out of your review?
What have we got? We've got quite a good tech stack. I did a talk at Bullhorn Engage a few weeks ago, actually, when we went through our tech stack. But alongside Recruiter Insider, I think we're just rolling out Hairfish. I think it's something that a few people are talking about. Automation is something that when we reviewed our business, it's going to be really important, especially if everyone's trying to be lean going forward for, if this pandemic stretches out a bit more, how can you be as lean as possible and as efficient as possible? So Hairfish looks like a good product for that. We're still getting to grips with the early stages of it, but I think...
Does Bullhorn own Hairfish?
Yeah, Bullhorn, they were a tech startup a few years back, and then Bullhorn bought them, so now part of Bullhorn.
So now somebody else will have to have a competitor that integrates with everybody else, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a gap in the market. Someone will be there working away on a solution for that problem, definitely.
I've heard a few people talk about that one, so that's interesting. And what other stuff have come out that you rate?
So what we got at the moment, we're using Cloud Call for our comms, nice and easy, click to call, people working at home, walking around looking cool, doing phone calls on their AirPods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Taking selfies. Bullhorn is good as a CRM for us. It integrates nicely with our back office and our payroll system. So we've got that all synced and running. All the timesheets run really, really smooth. So we run quite a lean back office here. So that's good. The cloud call stuff was really good for the call listening and the training in lockdown when everybody was fully remote.
Yeah.
You know, going from that side-by-side coaching to having people who've been in the business 6 weeks and you're letting them loose on the phones in their own home, you're like,
Tough.
wow, that's just terrifying.
And then you can see if they're actually doing it or not as well. And
yeah, but it's more like there is that as well. I don't think we ever really had the trust problem of people doing the work here. What's more scary is them doing the work and doing it badly.
oh man, it yeah, I just love getting a new bit of tech toy. What else, Simon? You must have some more.
What else have we got?
What are you using to get your data?
Just a normal sort of LinkedIn. I've been looking at a product as well, Seamless AI. That looks quite good.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to get another person in the business to run something like that who's a bit more tech focused, but it's like a bolt on, and it scrapes certain information from LinkedIn and around different places on the web to get contact details and things like that. So if we were going to map out a new market, for example, and we wanted to look at all the data center providers on the East Coast of America, you can kind of plug all that information in there, scrape the data out, and then start pumping content out to them.
Yeah, we're in something like that at the moment. I'm looking at the guys at Recruiterly have a new product out, so that should have all the data we need. It's funny, every time you get a toy, you need another toy to talk to it, and then like I found like every time, so like I'm going through this at the moment, and it's like, hey, I don't have this, I don't know which company to call. Oh, right, okay, give me a second. Oh, okay, here's SourceBreaker, right? This should help you. That number, there's not enough numbers. Okay, all right, okay, let's go get Recruiterly. Right, here's a thing. What about email marketing? Okay, right here, let's go get the LEM list. Right, okay. Does that speak with Recruiterly? Oh, I don't know. Let me go check. My head's ready to explode with it up. When you're putting your job now as a CEO, and I know you're looking at numbers, you're looking at tech. Who do you handball stuff to fix? Is that somebody else? Is that you? Like what's your job now?
Cool. Problem solver, dog's body, all the stuff that someone else doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
No, my job's just trying to, like, talking about that boat analogy as well, plotting the course for where we want to go, and then how do we get there, really breaking it down, making it manageable. If you speak to someone about where we want the company to be in 4 years, everyone looks at that and they think, yeah, it's a great pipe dream, but how are you actually going to implement that? What are you going to do? How are you going to break that down and make that into, small little wins that will take us one step closer? So I think that's probably my job, and I'm quite lazy, so trying to delegate as much as possible to other people.
I am too. I get that. I always wondered about I was always against like putting loads of people in call centers around the world. I always thought like that's just madness considering how much it costs to do that in New York. I remember hearing like Faden's rent bill as soon as the pandemic happened, and I thought, wow, like listed business, they're fine, but that's a serious. If it had been them before they sold and they were caught in that moment, like that would be pretty scary. How much do you think when you're scaling a company, putting offices out there is about your own ego versus like what is actually going to help the business move forward?
Yeah, I think it's also, there is definitely a bit of the Del Boy syndrome where you want your van and you want your different locations on, but also I think it's about where you've come from and what are you used to. So, we were very lucky here. We came from a brilliant business that had about 300 recruiters in one building.
Yeah.
So I think the strapline that we were told to say when we worked there, 15 years ago, is we're the biggest single site recruitment agency in the UK. And they were so proud of being the biggest single site. But when you've seen a company dominate as they did back then with just one office, you kind of understand what's possible. Why can't you do that, but just make the world a smaller place? It's getting smaller all the time.
Yeah.
Why do you need lots of big offices around the world? Why can't you have maybe a main delivery office and then some key players in different strategic locations around the globe who are working flexibly.
Yeah, I think this has probably pushed our industry more to be thinking like we're a tech startup rather than a call center sales business. And I find that I study a lot what people are saying, you know, in different groups and stuff. And I feel like a lot of the guys in their 40s and 50s are really adverse to it. Like they just harp back to S3. They just want that control, that pace. On the other side of this, knowing that it's tough to get the best out of people working from home, that you do like having a single site major office. How are you mixing that spread of office versus home working when when all the restrictions go away? What do you visualize?
I think we'll be quite relaxed about it, really, and a lot of it would be just down to performance and quality. So, you know, like we were saying before, it's not really the trust element of people actually doing the work. The fear for us is the quality going to be as high as if you're in the office when we can, you know what it's like if someone sat a couple of desks past you, you can say, next time, how about you try this, and maybe say it that way. But that's the piece for me that you miss out on, and nobody wants to be sat on cloud call all day listening to people's calls back.
I know, nightmare.
It's painful. So it's that one-to-one coaching. But if people are performing, doing the numbers, they're happy, engaged, then, you know, we're pretty relaxed about it going forward. It's not about, you know, how many calls you make. If you're hitting your targets at the end of the day and you're happier and more productive at home, then, you know, good luck to you.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Good question. I need to do another one of those plans.
Yeah.
I think it's about, yeah, most important for me is continue to be happy in the role that I'm doing every day. Stay healthy, keep kickboxing, and come to work with a smile on my face every day. The company will grow a lot naturally, but I think it's because we've got a lot of ambitious leaders in the business already who are going to push it forward. But I think we will grow in headcount, maybe not as much as we've planned, but we will be more of a streamlined, automated business who, our marketing team will grow a lot, definitely. I think much more than we'd planned. So at the moment, we don't have enough marketeers per headcount of sales consultant. So I think that balance will definitely be addressed. People are so hungry for content now. It's certainly opened our eyes to, we're hiring a copywriter at the moment. If you said that to me 12 months ago, you're hiring someone full-time just to do copywriting, I'd have said you were crazy. So it's about being flexible, and I think we will grow, but just perhaps in slightly different ways than we thought a year ago.
Yeah, it's really interesting that I suppose the pandemic's given us all a bit of time for reflection on how we can fix things. Because when things are going well, you're like, it's not broken.
Yeah.
Just going to crack on. How long have you been doing the kickboxing for?
I've been doing it about 8 years now. So
when you go there, everything else leaves your mind, right?
Oh, it's brilliant. It'd be even better when we can start sparring again, like after the restrictions, because we're not doing contact at the moment. So it's more the drills and the pad work. But especially when you're sparring, you can't think about anything else.
Oh, no, you have to survive. Jiu-Jitsu, the difference between kickboxing and Jiu-Jitsu is in Jiu-Jitsu, you spar at 100%. So you're literally fighting for survival. So you can't think of anything else, and then you come out. Kickboxing to a certain extent as well. There's a difference in, like, I've done kickboxing too, and when you go in there, it can get a bit tastier. Like if somebody gets caught, it gets tasty quick, and you're in a different place. Whereas jiu-jitsu, because you're both going at it, and you can't really get punched or anything. It's a slight different psychology.
Yeah.
But I'd advise anybody who runs a business, go do some martial arts, kick the shit out of some people, get battered.
There's definitely nothing more dangerous in kickboxing than a really over-enthusiastic yellow belt.
Yeah, oh man. All right, listen, that's us today. Really interesting hearing where you're at, where you're going. And let's do this South Coast event on the other side of this. Let's figure it out. We have a few people down here. I'm mad for a pint. This is
snap.
That's full on. Thanks so much for coming on, Liam.
Yeah, cheers, Delta.
Take care, pal.
Bye.